Hey, hey,
Hey,
I'm Brian,
and I'm Kristen.
and this is the Brian and Kristen podcast, episode 24. Pretty cool. We're moving right along, and we are, if you haven't seen our show before, we are a brother and sister podcast team, and each week we have different topics that we hit. A lot of times we take topics from the audience, so if you're watching, you have questions for us, please let us know, and um, and that's where we're at, and I'm recently engaged, so that's third. So,
If you haven't seen last or listened to or watched last week's 22, is it 22?
23.
Oh, 23,
Yeah,
23. Uh, you got to go watch that. See
yeah,
how, see the video of the proposal.
yeah. The best, most romantic proposal that's ever been.
Yeah, likely to be seen on Starbucks commercials coming soon.
Yeah, totally. so, yeah, so that's been keeping me kind of busy. I've still been seeing people, and they say congratulations, which congratulations is a good thing to say. It's also an interesting thing. I think good luck would be another thing people say.
Yeah,
So, and where you at, Kristen? Looks like you got a different background this week.
I am. Today has been a fun day. I overnighted in Tampa, so I was in Tampa this morning, and then I flew to Havana, Cuba today.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I didn't get to obviously you can't get off the airplane really, but I got to like stand out on the steps and take a look around, but that's about the extent of what I could do there.
Oh,
Um,
really? And how come you can't go out and see the town? So I'm moving my camera around here a little bit. How come you can't see the town?
I don't really think Americans are supposed to be out doing the things. But anyway, but the way that we work anyway is that any Havana trip we do is always just a turn. So then I ended up now I'm in Fort Lauderdale.
Okay. Sorry, got Bestie making a little problem here. So he was crying, so I wanted to get him
Uh,
on our lap just so he doesn't. So wow, that's awesome. I've always wanted to go to Cuba. That'd be like I love their old cars there, and I've always wanted to see it there. So that's pretty cool.
yeah, I mean I don't know what all the rules are, but anyway, so
But basically, you're not allowed to go out
uh,
sightseeing.
exactly.
Wow. So you
Yeah.
just fly there, go to the hotel, look out the window, and that's it.
No, we don't even go to the hotel. We literally land at the airport. We open like obviously the door when people get on and off, and you can just look out and see, but you can't do anything.
Oh, so you don't even get to stay at a hotel.
No.
Okay, that sucks. Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
But anyway, I've now seen Cuba.
I'd take it. Looks cool.
Yeah. Yep. So
Cool.
that was today.
Wow. And now you're back in Fort Lauderdale.
Yep. And ironically, I'm not going to say exactly where I am, but I am very close to a place I used to live. So it's pretty funny.
Cool. I like Fort Lauderdale, Miami. Miami's my favorite place next to Covington. And then,
You like the diverse population? It reminds you of Covington.
yeah, yeah, totally. uh, there's nowhere like Covington, but
Exactly.
know, the only thing that Miami doesn't have that Covington has is a Amish German Baptist.
Right.
I've never seen German Baptist in Miami, but I've seen every other type of culture. So
Well, yeah, it'd take a long time to get there on their horses.
yeah, that's true. Good point. That's a long trip.
The horse and buggy going down 95, not likely to survive. Oh gosh.
All right. So what do you
So
got for us today?
okay, so this one happened a few weeks ago. I joined I was on like a group mediumship call. I was a participant, and there were mediums who were doing mediumship readings. And and on this call, there's like 75 people that are participants, and then they have like one medium does different readings. So um, I was curious if Dad would come through on this group mediumship reading, and I kind of was like, "Let's see, Dad, if you'll show up." So this woman starts, the medium starts describing somebody, and she says, "I have a dad here. His name is Howard, and he has something to do with Ohio."
Dang.
And And he says it's like he's one of 5 kids, and I go, I don't know about the 5 kids piece. But come to find out, what she actually meant, which was like a misinterpretation, was that he had 5 children.
Oh, yeah, he did.
So, and she wasn't giving me the reading; she was just describing this person, and I obviously raised my hand because it's Dad. But she gave me some additional information, and I wanted to share it with you because I thought it was so interesting, especially if there's any listeners who are like, I don't know, that mediumship stuff sounds weird, or I'm skeptical. I mean, even I obviously believe in all of it, but to get a reading from somebody and the level of detail, she even brought up Dale, which for those listening, that's our half brother who passed away. I don't remember how many years now.
2000s, maybe 12, 13, or 14, something like that. Yeah. Long
Yeah.
time ago, 10 years.
So she was saying there's this guy that his name starts with like a D, and I obviously figured it was Dale. And she's like, and he's talking about somebody with a name like Brian. And I was like, yeah. And she said, does this guy he's like a comedian or something. And I see him on stage with a microphone, and it's like Dale's in the front laughing at all his jokes. He thinks he's really funny.
Ah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. But can you imagine that she's
Wow.
delivering this message? She doesn't know me. She doesn't know anything about you. And then she even describes the boating accident and your fingers, and that he's saying that he sees something with like your fingers, and that and she's like, I don't know why he's laughing at this, but it feels like this Brian has made a joke out of that. And I said, yes, actually. So I just thought that was like mind blowing, even for me, to
Yeah.
have her have Dale describing the accident and how you use that in a joke.
That's crazy. I mean,
I was like, whoa.
I mean to right off the bat get Dad's name and all that, but like, and I could see that because Dale did want to come see me in LA to do comedy, but it never worked out. He never got to come because he messaged me on Facebook saying he would love to see a show.
Yeah, and when she was describing like the finger story, she's like, I don't know, I feel like I see like, and she holds up his fingers, and then like something happens to the top of his fingers or something, and did this whole motion, and that there's like blood coming out of it, and like she was so detailed. So I had to share that story because if people are skeptical, I mean, that level of detail was like, wow.
And it's not possible that before that she got on the thing, she Googled.
No, I mean, how would she even know? Like, I mean,
Right.
like, yeah,
Well,
there's no way.
even if you would Google, you wouldn't know. Well, it'd be hard. I guess you could find out our dad's name, but Dad died before, because I've tried to find information on Dad, and it's hard. I mean, he was in the newspaper a lot, so there's articles that come up, but not really like it's like work, because he died before. He died in '99, so there really wasn't. If there was internet, nobody had it back then, right? So.
Yeah.
And then to know that all that about Dale, and yeah, that's wow. So,
Yeah.
and then what happens? So she says that, and then what goes on after that?
I mean, a lot of this is to just validate that, like, people, people believe it, there's life after death. And then also just to like have the message. And so, she also brought in a message from Ellen, which is our half sister. She said that she like died too young, and started to describe some things about Ellen. And, then that essentially what Dad was saying was that he was proud of all 5 of his kids, and that we all have, and of the paths that we've taken, even though it's so different from what he would do, that he's proud of all 5 of his kids. So that's where it like circled back to the 5 kids. So anyway, I don't know. I just thought that was such a shocking story.
Yeah.
That I wanted to share it on here. So
Yeah, that's a good one. Wow. I'm glad you shared it on here, because it's like, I mean, because I know that you said you had something that happened, and I mean, obviously last week was taken over by the Mia Moore proposal, but
yeah.
yeah, that's stuff that most people, I mean, yeah. So, and do you know where this lady's from? Like how you could, I mean,
Yeah, so what's actually really interesting about it is, so she lives in Maryland. I met her in England when I took the mediumship class, but she and I did not talk anything. Like would not know any of that information about me. But we always had to sit at the same table for lunch at the mediumship class. And so we sat at the same table for lunch every single day that I was there. But so when she starts describing this, she doesn't know any of this about me. So when I raised my hand, she's like, "Oh, Kristen, from my lunch table in England. I didn't even know you were going to be on here." So that was pretty wild too. It's like, dad came through this woman that and she was actually like the teacher of all the mediums there. So her delivery and message of it was so good.
Now, do you think that because she was around you, it was easier for her to pick that up? Like, maybe because she's like, maybe it was starting to come through when you're sitting there subconsciously or something like that. And
I don't think so. I mean, she didn't even know I was going to be on this group thing. And
okay,
then, I mean, literally when I raised my hand and said I could identify with the information, that's when she realized it was me. And I didn't even know she was going to be on this thing I was attending either until I saw her.
yeah,
So no, I don't think that could be the case. I think maybe it's like, spirits can kind of choose what medium that they want to come through, or they pick up on it. So I would feel like maybe, well, actually she reminds me a lot of Ellen. So I
oh,
thought that
really?
that was kind of interesting. Yeah. And so I was like, well, that would make sense that dad would pick somebody that reminded me of someone.
Yeah, especially Ellen, because they were pretty tight,
Mm-hmm.
So, oh boy, that's, Pamela Ohio said it right. Goosebumps, egads. On our chat here.
Yeah, I know. I
So
I couldn't
now,
believe that.
when she finished off, how does she finish? That just kind of ends. It's just like she said.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly what the end part. I mean, the whole thing was so fascinating to me, but the part about your fingers had me so like mind blown that like I really couldn't get beyond
Yeah,
beyond that part because I was like, whoa, And she actually said at the end, she said, I didn't really know if I should say the thing about the fingers and the blood and the laughing because it seemed like it was like harsh, but then after the fact, I told her that you did make a joke about it and that was real. And she's like, oh, okay. And I said, well, I'm glad that you actually said it because that was such a shocking thing, that so.
yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of like each medium does a little bit of time and then, they move on to the next medium who does a reading as well. So,
Oh, cool. It's almost like, well, not quite, but it's kind of almost like an open mic of right, like okay, you're getting 5 minutes. You're getting like comics do, right?
exactly. Yeah. So it's like get as much of a message or some information out there to make the connection. So, yeah.
Wow. And that's cool that there's a group that kind of does that amongst your own group of people, right? I mean, that,
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Because usually, if you're the medium always giving the messages, you don't, sometimes it's harder to get them for yourselves or to watch how other mediums work and you can learn from them. I mean, I guess in the sense, like comedy, right? If you watch other comedians, you can see like what worked, what didn't work, that type of thing. And then also to have them be giving us messages because that really got me re-energized about mediumship and what it can do because it blew me away so much that I was like, man, this is like, and it helped me, like if I'm able to give at least some of this to somebody else, like how helpful that can be to someone. So to me, it's really helpful to join that even as a medium.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, even if she would have just got dad's name and state and he had 5 kids, that's pretty good. But the yeah, the finger and all that.
And he said, oh, she also said, Dale wants to say hello to Karen, which is Dale's
What
wife.
wife? Wow.
Like she got all the names like pretty close. And then, yeah, so.
Dang, that's crazy. Well, that's a mind blower for sure.
That's why I wanted to do it on here for the
So,
full effect.
final kind of question because we're already hitting 15 minutes. Seemed like it went pretty quick. What okay, so the people are dead. So let's say like you're dead. Where are you though? I mean, you're like, you know, you're in heaven. Like, are you walking around Earth? How are you? Well, we don't know that, or do we? Or how does the
I
media?
mean, yeah, I mean, I'd be lying if I said I actually knew because I haven't been there, so I don't, I don't know, or maybe I have, but I just don't remember. So to my understanding is that the soul can like fragment into a bunch of different parts. So that part of the soul that was here in like that lifetime is where you're making the connection. And so although it's not in physical form, it's all energy and vibrations. So it's like picking up on the vibration, kind of like a radio dial. You know, it's like the radio is not tuned in; it's just picking up on the frequency. So that's my understanding is that it's like just picking up on that frequency and vibration of that part of the soul. And that's, you're like communicating that information that you're receiving.
Now, do you think that there's ever situations like in that movie where he says, "I see dead people"?
Yeah, the sixth sense.
The Sixth Sense. Do you think that there's ever situations like that where maybe somebody died and they don't know they're dead?
Yes. I think sometimes it can take them a little bit to figure it out because they don't exactly know or they weren't expecting it. But then they ultimately do.
They ultimately do. It takes them.
Well, yeah, I mean, unless it's, I've heard that sometimes it could be like a ghost, you know, like a ghost can't quite figure out where they are.
Okay. And what about when you have a dream of dead people? Is that similar to what a medium does or no?
So dreams can be a visitation if, for example, the dream is very vivid and you remember it, like one of those where it could have happened like, you know, even 5 years ago and you still remember it. The person who passed is in the dream, but healthy in the dream. And yeah, it just seems very clear. So those are actually like visitations that they can come, like the dead person, the spirit is like coming to visit you. So
Dang. Well, that's a good one. That's that's a good one. Well, that was awesome. Well, I'm glad you shared that story with us, and well, that's a heck of a
so
story.
maybe that'll bring up some questions for viewers, you know, moving forward, because I
Yeah,
always feel like I get a lot of questions about different things. Not that I have the answers for it. It's all, a lot of it can be, you know, speculation because we don't totally know, or sometimes we do different pieces,
yeah,
but
yeah. It's all speculation. That's what I've always thought. I mean, it's like there's so many theories about death and people being dead, but I'm like, well, the only way to know is to actually be dead, right? I mean, it's like
I think so. Or have a
it's
near death experience.
yeah, a near death experience. I think would give you a pretty good few moments, but that's only a few moments compared to forever, right?
Yeah, and I'm not really sure I'd want those few moments. I'll just wait.
Yeah, man, push me back another, I don't know, as long as possible. So
Yeah.
push me,
So,
push my back forever.
hi, bestie.
So, okay. Well, that's great, Kristen. Well, thanks for sharing that. Thanks for
Yep.
jumping in. Thanks everybody for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next one.
All right. Bye.
All right.